We're going to do something a little bit different today, and honestly, I think it's absolutely fascinating. We are going to decode the hidden underlying architecture of an entire supply chain department. And the crazy part? We're going to do it using nothing but its personnel registry, just a simple list of job titles. I know, it sounds like a stretch, right? But you'll be amazed at just how much organizational DNA is hiding in plain sight once we start mapping these roles out.
Okay, let's just dive right into the raw data. We are working with exactly 14 job titles pulled directly from a strategic supply chain and logistics registry. Now, at first glance, this probably just looks like a chaotic, overwhelming wall of corporate jargon. I mean, we've got coordinators, managers, analysts, dispatchers scattered everywhere. It feels entirely random, but I promise you, it's not. Hidden right inside this jumble is a perfectly designed, highly efficient machine. Our job today is to untangle it.
To make sense of it all, we're going to break this down into 4 chronological phases: sourcing materials, planning production, storing inventory, and delivery. And then we'll finish up by decoding the organizational hierarchy itself.
This 4-step framework is literally the key to unlocking our data. Every single role from that initial list of 14 fits neatly into one of these buckets. We are going to follow the physical life cycle of a product, from its absolute origin, getting the raw materials, all the way to final delivery to the customer. And we'll categorize our personnel list as we go.
All right, kicking things off with Phase 1, sourcing materials. This is where the whole supply chain wakes up.
When we filter our master list for roles strictly dedicated to the inbound flow of goods, 4 specific titles immediately jump out. We've got the Procurement Assistant, the Purchasing Assistant, the Sourcing Specialist, and the Sourcing Manager. Basically, these are the folks responsible for making sure the company actually has the raw materials, components, or products it needs to function at all. They are the gatekeepers of the inbound supply. You can kind of think of them as the organization's personal shoppers and lead negotiators.
Now, what's really interesting here is how the titles reveal a clear distinction in daily tasks. The Purchasing Assistant is all about transactional execution. They're cutting the purchase orders, they're chasing down the paperwork. But the Sourcing Manager, they're focused on the big picture, evaluating vendors, locking in long-term strategy, and negotiating contracts. Just from reading the titles, we can see exactly how the department splits its inbound phase between tactical, day-to-day execution, and high-level strategy.
Moving right along to Phase 2, planning production. This is the internal phase where some very critical decisions get made.
Sitting dead center in the middle of this operation, we find 2 highly analytical roles, the supply chain planner and the production scheduler. These 2 are basically the air traffic controllers of the entire facility. They aren't out there driving forklifts, and they certainly aren't calling up vendors. Instead, they're deep in the data. They're forecasting demand, crunching numbers, and figuring out exactly what needs to be made and exactly when.
So the crucial takeaway here is that these 2 roles uniquely focus on timeline planning and internal strategy before anything physically moves again. Think about it. The materials have arrived, sure, but before they get transformed or put on a shelf, the planner and the scheduler have to orchestrate the how and the when. It's this brilliant internal pivot point within the life cycle of the goods.
Next up is Phase 3, storing inventory. The goods have to be housed, protected, and meticulously tracked. Going back to our data, we find 4 interconnected roles managing this stationary phase: the inventory analyst, the inventory control supervisor, the warehouse and logistics coordinator, and the warehouse manager. These 4 titles totally own the physical domain of the company. But even within this stationary phase, there is a distinct, brilliant division of labor hiding in the naming conventions.
The language used here brilliantly illustrates the semantic split and how an organization thinks about stored goods. Notice how 2 roles use the word inventory, the analyst and the supervisor. Those roles live in the digital realm. They're tracking financial values, balancing ledgers, monitoring inventory health. Meanwhile, the coordinator and the manager use the word warehouse. They own the physical reality. They're optimizing floor space, driving forklift routes, making sure the facility is actually safe. It's the invisible, digital data versus the tangible, physical space, working totally side by side.
Finally, we hit Phase 4, delivery. This is all about mobilizing the finished product out to the end customer.
The remaining 4 roles in our registry perfectly bridge the gap between the internal warehouse and the outside world. We've got the transportation specialist, delivery management, the dispatcher/customer service rep, and the national sales and supply analyst. These are your logistics executioners. They manage the freight and make absolutely sure that final mile is completed successfully. Notice how cleverly the organization bridges the gap with one very specific role. the dispatcher/customer service representative. It is the only hybridized title on our entire list. And why is that? Because delivery is the exact moment the company's physical logistics physically collide with the actual customer. This single title uniquely combines the physical execution of dispatching trucks with the outward-facing link of managing customer expectations, answering calls about where a delivery is. It's just a fantastic reflection of operational reality captured in a single job title.
Now let's shift gears away from the products and focus on the people themselves. Let's decode the organizational hierarchy.
When we map all 14 roles across the physical life cycle, a nearly perfect symmetry emerges. It is incredibly balanced. We've got 4 roles dedicated to sourcing, 4 to storing, and 4 to delivery. The only exception? That highly concentrated planning phase right in the middle, running on just 2 roles. It shows us a vast operational machine that relies on a very tight, concentrated strategic core making all the big decisions.
Furthermore, if you put yourself in the shoes of a hiring manager for a second, the title modifiers themselves reveal 3 distinct tiers of career progression. Over on the execution side, you have the entry-level administrative tier, your assistants, coordinators, and dispatchers. They're the engines of the daily grind. In the middle, the analytical and technical tier, the analysts, specialists, and planners, which requires advanced data mastery and technical skills. And finally, the leadership tier at the top, the supervisors and managers guiding the overall strategy and personnel. It's an entire built-in career ladder hidden right there in the nomenclature.
And there you have it. 14. That is it. That is all we started with. Just 14 seemingly random job titles from a standard personnel registry. But by analyzing the vocabulary, tracing the chronological flow, and teasing out the implied daily tasks, we've entirely reverse-engineered a complex, multi-tiered ecosystem. We uncovered a perfectly balanced machine, moving from sourcing all the way to delivery, governed by a very clear 3-tier career hierarchy of execution, analysis, and leadership.
It really makes you step back and think about the power of organizational design, doesn't it? So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. Take a look at your own organization's internal directory. Look really closely at the exact titles being used across your teams. What hidden structural secrets, what career ladders, and what operational philosophies might be hiding in plain sight in your own company's registry? I really hope this changes how you look at the architecture of your team. Until next time.